It was the kind of night that makes the air feel heavy. A train hummed through the countryside, its fluorescent lights buzzing against the quiet dark. The seats were mostly empty, the carriage echoing with the low rattle of wheels against steel. Rain sat alone, scrolling her phone, trying to sound relaxed as she whispered into it. Yeah, just a couple more stops. I'll see you soon. She forced a laugh, soft and polite. But her eyes betrayed her words. They kept flicking down the carriage to a man she couldn't stop noticing. He wasn't loud, he wasn't obvious, he was worse. He was quiet. Every few minutes he stood and slipped into the small train bathroom. The door creaked, clicked, closed. Then just before the next stop he stepped out again. His shoes tapped against the floor, his eyes sweeping the carriage. Always landing on her. Raina swallowed hard. The first time she thought nothing of it. The second time she felt uneasy. The third time her stomach twisted into knots. Why did he keep doing it? Why the bathroom every station? And why her? The train wasn't empty, not completely. At least 2 other passengers sat scattered down the line. One woman stared blankly at her laptop, headphones in. A man slept with his head against the glass, mouth open. Rain tried to remind herself of that. She wasn't alone. This was safe. But when she looked at them, they didn't seem to notice him, didn't seem to care. The man's eyes met hers again. His face was calm, expression unreadable. But his gaze didn't shift. It lingered, heavy, like he was waiting. Waiting for something she hadn't yet realized. Her heart thumped against her chest. She turned away, gripped her phone tighter and whispered, "Yeah, sounds great. I'll see you on the platform." Her laugh was quieter now, thinner. The voice of the conductor crackled through the speaker. "Next stop, Eagle, Mountain Station." The brakes screeched, the train jolted and the doors opened with a mechanical hiss. Rain looked through the window. The platform outside was empty. One light flickered above the bench, buzzing like an insect caught in glass. No footsteps, no voices, just shadows. She wanted to leave. Every part of her body screamed at her to step off, run, call a cab, do anything but stay on that train. But what if he followed her? What if getting off made it worse? Her body froze in the seat, her eyes on the glass. The doors hissed shut. The train moved again. She tried to shake it off. Maybe he was sick. Maybe the bathroom thing was a quirk. Maybe he wasn't watching her. Maybe he was just looking in her direction. She whispered it under her breath like a prayer. "You're imagining it." But when the lights flickered overhead and she heard the bathroom door creak again, her stomach dropped. She couldn't pretend anymore. This wasn't nothing. Minutes passed, long minutes, stretched thin by silence. The train rattled. The air conditioner hummed. The lights buzzed. And then, footsteps, slow, heavy, measured. Rain sat stiff, every muscle locked. She didn't turn her head. She could feel him moving closer, each step echoing in her chest. Finally, she broke. She turned. He wasn't walking toward her, not yet. He was standing in the aisle, still, staring at her with that same flat expression. He didn't smile, didn't frown, didn't speak. Just looked. And that was worse. She couldn't take it anymore. She stood and walked quickly toward the other passenger, the woman with the laptop. Her voice came out rushed, nervous. "Hi, I'm sorry to interrupt. I know this might sound strange, but have you noticed him? The guy near the bathroom, he keeps watching me." The woman glanced up, unimpressed, pulling one headphone aside. "So he looked at you?" Rain's throat tightened, in a way that made me walk up to a stranger for help. The woman frowned, shook her head. "You need to calm down." The words landed like a punch. Rain stood frozen, her chest rising and falling too fast. She wanted to scream, to shake the woman, to make her understand, but nothing came out. And when she turned back down the aisle, the man was gone. The lights buzzed overhead. The conductor's voice filled the carriage. "Next stop, Tiawa Station." The brakes squealed again, sharp and metallic. Rain's hands clenched into fists. Her throat was dry. She turned toward the window. Another empty platform. No people. No voices. No escape. The doors opened with a hiss, and in the reflection of the glass she saw him, standing, still, watching her through the thin mirror of the night. Her body screamed, her mind whispered, "Stay still. Don't make it worse." And when the doors closed again, she realized she had done neither. She had simply sat frozen, unable to move. The train rattled forward. The sound of steel against steel filled the silence. Her heart pounded with it. The bathroom door creaked open again. Her head snapped up. The man stepped out, slowly. He adjusted his jacket, took 2 steps down the aisle, and stopped. The lights flickered. Buzz, black buzz, light again. And in that moment of darkness, she thought she felt him closer. She thought she heard his breath. When the light blinked back on, he was still in the aisle, staring. Her chest rose and fell too fast. Her throat closed in. She whispered again, this time to herself. "He's waiting for me. He's waiting for me to get off this train." The conductor's voice echoed again. "Next stop, Lansvale Station." Her pulse pounded so loud it drowned the sound of the train itself. She pulled at the handle of the door beside her seat. It didn't move. She yanked again, harder. Nothing. The door was locked. Her breath came out in broken bursts. She yanked again, panic burning through her arms. Nothing. The doors didn't open. The windows didn't open. She was trapped. Behind her, the footsteps began again. Closer this time. Her phone buzzed in her hand. A message. She fumbled it open, praying it was her friend. Praying it was something that could tether her back to safety. But the words blurred in her eyes. Her hand shook so hard she dropped it. The phone clattered to the floor, sliding halfway down the aisle. The man's foot stopped on it. He didn't bend to pick it up. He just stood there, staring. Rain's breath caught in her throat. Her body went still, as if any movement would break the fragile barrier of distance between them. The train rattled. The lights buzzed and the footsteps began again. The phone lay on the floor, its screen glowing faintly. And his foot was on it, Rain's breath caught in her throat. The train rattled. The carriage hummed. But the world had gone quiet inside her chest. She didn't move. She couldn't. Her body locked in place, frozen between fight and collapse. The man didn't speak. He didn't smile. He just stood there, his shoe pressing against the only connection she had to the outside world. The lights flickered again. For half a second, everything went black. And in that blackness, she heard him breathe. The lights buzzed back on. He was closer, Raina's pulse hammered against her ribs. Her throat burned as she forced out a whisper. "Stop, please." He didn't move. Her voice broke louder, sharper. "Get out of my way." Her own scream startled her. It cut her through the empty carriage and echoed against the windows. But no one came. No one heard. The train rattled forward, cold and merciless. And then, he stepped toward her. Rain bolted. Her chest scraped the floor as she shoved past him, heart slamming against her ribs. She ran down the aisle, hands clawing at the locked door. She yanked the handle until her palms burned. Still nothing behind. Her footsteps pounded the floor. Not running, not yet, but steady, certain, inevitable. The announcement voice broke through the chaos. "Next stop, Bullaras Station." Her only thought was survival. Make it to the doors. Make it out. The lights flickered again. Buzz black. In the darkness, she felt it. The brush of air against her arm. A hand reaching. She spun, kicking backward, her heel connecting with something solid. A grunt tore through the dark. The lights snapped back on. The man staggered, one hand gripping the seat for balance. Rain's breath came in ragged gasps. Her body trembled, but she ran again. The train screeched as it slowed. Brakes cried against the rails. She felt it in her bones. This was her chance. The doors groaned open. The platform stretched before her, empty, desolate, lit by a single buzzing light. She sprinted. Her bag flew from her shoulder, crashing against the floor. She didn't care. Her shoes slammed against the concrete as she leapt from the train. Her lungs burned, her chest heaving as she stumbled onto the platform. And then she turned. The train stood still, its windows glowing faintly. She searched them, desperate, terrified, but he wasn't there. The carriage looked empty. Too empty. Rain spun in circles, scanning the platform. No footsteps, no voices, no movement. The train hissed, engines rumbling. It pulled away slowly, grinding back into the night. And she stood there, alone, her breath clouding in the cold air. Her body shook uncontrollably, her knees threatening to buckle. She clutched the metal railing, forcing herself upright. Her mind screamed, "Run! Get out! Go!" But her legs wouldn't move. She was frozen. The platform light flickered, buzzing, popping. Moths swirled around it, frantic, their wings slapping against the glass. They spiraled closer and closer to the glow, burning themselves in the heat. Rain stared at them, her breath shallow. Her lips parted as she whispered to herself, barely audible, "The moths will eat them up." Her voice cracked on the wood. DS? Because deep down, she understood. The moths weren't the danger, they were just a distraction. The real danger never stayed in the light. Behind her, the silence was too deep, too heavy. Every sound, her breath, the buzz of the lamp, the distant hum of the train, seemed wrong. She turned slowly, eyes wide. The platform was empty. But she didn't believe it. She couldn't. Because once someone has followed you that long, once their eyes have burned into you, silence doesn't feel like safety. It feels like the space before the next move. Her phone was gone. Her bag was gone. Everything she thought tethered her to safety was lost inside that train. She wrapped her arms around herself, staring into the darkness beyond the edge of the platform. No sound, no shape, just shadows that seemed too deep, too thick, too alive. The moths battered the light above her, desperate, burning. Her voice came out one last time, soft, haunted. Some rides. You never forget. The camera would linger here. The platform. The light, the frantic moths. Until finally, the screen went black. And from the distance, faint, almost too faint to hear, the low sound of footsteps.